News time, 9 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Tuesday. Top of the morning from the newsroom of Regional Radio and DeWittDailyNews.com. I'm Seth Lawrence with this expanded 7 o'clock newscast brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters. Here's what we have coming up for you in news on this Tuesday. The DeWitt County Museum is in its off season, and it is embarking on some significant renovations. We'll hear from Director Joey Long coming up in news on this Tuesday. McLean County voters this spring are set to decide on a 1-cent education sales tax. We'll hear from a DeWitt County school leader on how that would impact their school district. And also, the cold is set to stick around for just a short time. The National Weather Service joined us on the morning show yesterday. Hear from them in news this morning on WHOW. We stream to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. A DeWitt County historical site uses the off-season to finish a much-needed renovation. Joey Long is the director of the C.H. Moore Homestead and DeWitt County Museum. She explains they are replacing the wood flooring in two of the mansion's rooms. She notes this project can be completed while they are closed to tours for the season.
Well, every year the museum is closed to tours January, February, and March. But that does not mean that we are not busy. In fact, sometimes, it's a little more busy, because we take on so many projects. And a lot of times those projects are things that could only be done when the museum was closed and we weren't welcoming visitors. So probably the biggest project that we have going on right now is replacing the wood on the floor of the formal parlor and the music room. So originally they were going to just do the music room, but the board decided to go ahead and do both rooms. And so that wood flooring was delivered last week, and it is currently stacked quite high in the entry hallway. I'm told that the wood needs to acclimate to the conditions of the house before you actually lay it. And I expect that they'll be starting on actually laying the floor sometime next week. So we're very excited about that.
When making necessary renovations to the building, Long says they seek to be as historically accurate as possible for the floor. That means finding the right type of wood and recreating how it was originally constructed.
The board of directors definitely took that into consideration when taking on this project. So you want to make sure that the wood is the right thickness, the right width, so that it's in keeping with what would have been used during that time period. And I'm told there's also going to be some decorative inlay. So that's another reflection of, the board trying to keep this in line with what the home would have been when C.H. Moore resided there from the 1880s up to 1901. So I think it's going to be quite beautiful when it's done. And, we're just really looking forward to that, and seeing how it turns out. So I do not believe, I know that the flooring in the formal parlor, I came across some papers the other day. I think that the flooring was last attended to in 1974. And when they did that, they laid a wall-to-wall carpeting, which wasn't really period correct. In the music room, they went with period correct carpeting. It was woven in 12-inch strips and sewn together as it would have been back in the day. But so this is nice. What they're going to do now is going to more reflect what would be a historical accuracy as far as what might have been on the floor at that time.
Long assures the project will be completed by the time the museum reopens to the public on April 1st. She looks forward to showing off the improvement to guests in the 2025 season.
So it will certainly be done by the time the museum opens on April 1st. So we're really excited about being able, to open the doors for the 2025 season, and, everybody can come in and take a look at these beautiful new floors. Now, It will be beautiful when it's done. You should see what the museum looks like now, because obviously all of those furnishings from those 2 rooms had to be moved out. The museum, it has a very strange look right now, all furniture everywhere, but, it's quite an upheaval at this moment, but oh my goodness, when it's all done and everything's put back in place and arranged and staged, it will be beautiful.
Visit the C.H. Moore Homestead when it opens for the season beginning in April, and get more at chmoorehomestead.org. Residents of McLean County will soon cast their vote on a tax that could benefit local schools. Superintendent of Blue Ridge Schools, Dr. Hillary Stanifer, explains the April election will have a referendum on the ballot for a 1% sales tax. Although Blue Ridge Schools would not hugely benefit from this, she feels it would be a helpful boost to all the districts of McLean County.
So that's our county facility sales tax, kind of a mouthful, but that's asking the voters in McLean County only if they would be willing to approve that. And if so, that 1% sales tax would be able to be used inside of all the districts that are part of McLean County. We've always been able to use sales tax money for facilities, so some upgrades, but we can also now, we have approval that we can use that for mental health concerns. So that could be counselors, it could be psychologists, it could be social workers, because those needs just continue to increase. I know that since I've been superintendent, I think we've gone from, we use Tri-County Special Education Co-op for our social workers, but we've gone from 2 days a week of a social worker to now 2 full-time social workers in the district. So, and we're not very large. We're, 670 students, but if our need has risen that much, I can't imagine what some of the bigger schools' needs are. So definitely mental health and any safety measures such as secure entries and things like that those monies could be used for those upgrades as well.
The amount a school district receives is prorated to the amount of students that reside in McLean County. Dr. Stanifer notes in Blue Ridge that only covers around 60 students, meaning they would receive roughly $80,000.
So for us, we have a very small number of students. I think it's about 60 students that are in McLean County. So we would get our portion. It would be prorated based on enrollment for each of the districts that are part of McLean County. We would see they estimate maybe $80,000 a year. So I would not be able to do significant facility upgrades with that, but I definitely could be paying for a social worker plus, with those funds. That would be something that I could offset. I wouldn't have to issue taxes to cover the cost of that social worker. I could use the sales tax fund instead. Okay, so then all of the sales tax money that's generated, that all goes into one single pot. It actually goes through the ROE. And then the ROE, they ask us for every year. We get an ask of, give us your enrollment of your students broken down by what county they live in. So then that is put all together and they generate percentages. So I think I have like 0.28 of the enrollment in Blue Ridge. So then I'll get 0.28 of that sales tax pot that comes to me.
The tax would not apply to all purchased goods in McLean County. Dr. Stanifer explains the tax would be for non-essential purchases like gas and pre-prepared food from a grocery store or restaurant.
Purchases that are made in McLean County. For us, that's Bellflower. We don't sell a lot of things out of Bellflower, so mostly it would be it would impact our families if they were shopping perhaps in the Bloomington Normal area. Plus, you're going to have a lot of ISU purchases, right? A lot of families coming to visit students as well. So that's where a lot of that income is going to be generated from the visitors coming into the county. Things that will be taxed, groceries will not be taxed. Prepared food will be taxed. So you could be in a grocery store and you might get a little bit of a tax on if you buy a pre-made salad, something like that, but it's not going to be the salad ingredients. That would not be taxed. Fuel will be taxed. They will not be taxing larger farm implements and things like that farmers use. So there's a lot of exceptions to that, which is going to help the person who lives in McLean County. They're not going to be taxed across the board on everything. Basically, it's the wants, it's not the needs. So going out on the weekend and hitting the bar, they're going to be helping us with that sales tax right there.
Dr. Stanifer asks anyone with questions on the levy to reach out to her, and she would be happy to have any individual conversations. Several counties in central Illinois already have this sales tax in place, including Logan, Macon, and Piatt counties. The coldest stretch of weather we've experienced in a few years is only going to last another day or two, and then temperatures should moderate. That's according to John Bumgardner at the National Weather Service in Lincoln, who told Regional Radio on the WHOW Morning Show Monday temperatures will remain bitterly cold into Tuesday before a midweek rebound.
We had a bit of an Arctic intrusion down from Canada. The jet stream took a bit of a plunge south across the eastern plains and the Midwest, and that's allowed cold air aloft. Temperatures at around 850 millibars got down to around negative 25 Celsius around here, which would be one of our colder spells, probably in the top 30 or so climatologically for Lincoln, Illinois, just based on previous upper air soundings we've taken. We release a weather balloon twice a day to measure that. Fortunately, temperatures at the surface didn't get overly cold last night, nothing near records, which are running about 20 below. Mm-hmm. This is really the coldest time of the year, mid to late January, but it's been cold since Saturday night when that front came in, and highs yesterday in a lot of places were set just after midnight yesterday morning, around 15 to 20 degrees. Today we'll have a little bit of a warm up, but then another shot of cold air comes in overnight and probably prevent us from rising out of the single digits for highs tomorrow.
This cold air hasn't gotten nearly as cold as it could have, Bumgardner explains, because much of the snow melted in central Illinois over the last week. That has kept temperatures from getting even more cold than they already are.
Climatologically significant cold air mass, but as you mentioned at the surface, the weather we're experiencing hasn't been all that extreme, and I think a big part of that is winds, which kept wind chills around 10 to 15 below yesterday, but air temperatures stayed in the single digits and didn't drop off much overnight. We bottomed out here at -2 this morning, and that's because we kept just a little bit of wind. The other thing is the lack of a snowpack. The snow insulates the lower atmosphere from the earth and kind of prevents it from emitting a natural warmth overnight. And with the snowpack melting, thanks to the warm temperatures Thursday and Friday, that really saved us a little bit. If we had had a snowpack, I wouldn't be surprised if we had quite a few places reporting double-digit negative low temperatures this morning.
The cold won't last much longer. Bumgardner indicates there is relief on the way as we begin to moderate later in the week and even slightly get above normal for temperatures into the weekend.
That extra shot of Arctic air kind of coming in tonight into tomorrow will keep highs in the single digits tomorrow, and then fortunately the center of that high pressure starts to shift east of our area tomorrow night, and so after about midnight tomorrow night, we have temperatures forecast to gradually increase. So they'll be starting around that time like 5 degrees above or 2 to 5 above, and then they'll rise into probably the teens by the time most of us are getting to work Wednesday morning. Wow. Unfortunately, what's bringing that warmer air is going to be strong southerly flow as a deep upper trough, low pressure system moves into the plains. And so with winds picking up, gusting 20 to 30 miles an hour Wednesday morning, there's still going to be a -5 or so degree wind chills. It's not going to feel warm, but by Wednesday afternoon, we could be approaching freezing in some places. I think Clinton, our forecast high is 29 Wednesday, but it'll feel a heck of a lot better than what we've been dealing with the past few days.
Barring an unforeseen warm-up and wet weather pattern, January is almost certain to come in below normal for both temperatures and precipitation. We'll have more on that later this week on Regional Radio. News time is 23 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Tuesday. Plenty more to get to coming up on the morning show. News time is 24 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Tuesday. Again, I'm Seth Lawrence with you folks today for this expanded local newscast. The Illinois Association of Agricultural Fairs hosted their annual convention this past weekend in Springfield. The president of the group is David Hake from Washington County. He says there are a couple of issues drawing attention on the county fair circuit.
Well, some of it is the new health regulations with the chickens, the horses, ID, livestock tags, and we're always talking with the legislators about funding. I mean, that is a never-ending battle trying to keep our funding going because, I mean, without state funding, most fairs couldn't operate. I mean, and I was on the one conference call last year about the dairy cattle, and I mean, it's just going to be a never-ending battle. I think since COVID, everybody has got so paranoid about everything. This littlest thing all of a sudden pops up, like they was worried about the dairy cows last year. Well, they couldn't have the disease if you used pasteurized milk. Killed it. It was if you was drinking raw milk. Well, how many people are going to drink raw milk? I mean, we're just, there's so many battles on this stuff we're trying to fight or just stay ahead of.
The 2025 county fair season kicks off with the Martinsville Ag Fair on May the 26th. With blood donations typically at a year low in January, the American Red Cross wants to use the month of January to highlight the need for blood. In doing so, the Red Cross dubbed January Blood Donor Month to encourage residents across the state to donate after the holidays. Jace Eustace serves as a public affairs specialist at the Red Cross.
Yeah, so it is National Blood Donor Month. As we know, blood donation is such an incredible part of making sure that people that are in critical situations, whether that be trauma situations such as accidents or people dealing with certain conditions such as cancer or new mothers or premature babies that are being born, sickle cell disease. There's really an unlimited number of conditions where people might be in need of blood transfusions. So it's important now more than ever just to make sure that people are continuing to donate blood, because we understand at this time of the year, obviously people can look outside and they can see, oh, maybe it's not the best weather to be able to head out there and make my donation today. But we encourage people that if you're willing and you're able to continue to make and keep those appointments, because it really just helps keep blood on the shelves, because it has to be there when people are in need.
According to Eustace, the Red Cross must collect 13,000 pints of blood nationwide daily to meet the demand. He says someone in the U.S. needs a blood transfusion every 2 seconds. Among the many of the items facing the incoming Trump administration is disaster relief funding for California wildfire recovery and how that is tied to other issues.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens out there. I mean, what a catastrophe that is, right? Clearly, there needs to be something done. Speaker Johnson had mentioned, we'll see if this comes to fruition. And again, when this airs, it might be completely different because politics change so quickly. But the speaker did say that he's willing to put, that he's happy to put, I think, some funding, disaster assistance for those individuals in California, but tie it to a debt limit ceiling increase. If that happens, I see that might cause some stress amongst party leaders and that. So they're talking about it. We'll have to wait and see what kind of happens.
Ryan Whitehouse is the Director of National Legislation for the Illinois Farm Bureau. 28 minutes after 7 o'clock here on this Tuesday. Time now for a look at this morning's obituaries. 88-year-old Harold Dwayne Archie Harris of Clinton passed away Friday, January 17th at his family residence in Clinton. Graveside services for 88-year-old Harold Dwayne Archie Harris will be at 11 a.m. Saturday at Mausoleum Cemetery in Clinton. There will be no visitation. A celebration of life will be from 12 to 3 at the Clinton Eagles following the graveside service. Calvert Funeral Home of Clinton is in charge of arrangements. Memorials can be directed to the Harold Dwayne Harris Memorial Fund or the American Heart Association. 82-year-old Rita L. Oakley of Clinton passed away Thursday, January 16th at Manor Court in Clinton. Services for 82-year-old Rita L. Oakley will be at 11 a.m. Thursday at Calvert Funeral Home in Clinton with Pastor Jonathan Robertson officiating. Burial will follow at Memorial Park Cemetery in Clinton. The visitation is 10 to 11 a.m. Thursday at the funeral home. Memorials can be directed to Second Chance Pet Adoptions. News brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, and we stream to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Network news comes your way next after a look at sports on WHOW.